It's been 2 years since Ontario's capital city implemented what's known as a Vision Zero approach to making the streets safer for all types of users, that's cars, cyclists, and pedestrians. But as the fatalities continue to mount, some are already calling that plan a failure. Here for a look, we welcome Jay Robinson, Toronto City Councillor for Ward 25, Pamela Fuseli, Vice President, Knowledge and Transfer Stakeholder Relations at Parachute, and Marcus G., columnist with the Globe and Mail, and we're happy to welcome all of you back to TVO. Just remind us, Parachute is what?
We're a national charity focused on preventable injuries, road safety being one of our priorities.
Which is why you are here today. Let us share with you and our viewers numbers that you are all too aware of. These are deaths on the streets of Ontario's capital city. You can see the cyclist deaths in the paler blue, and then in the darker blue, the pedestrian deaths. And pedestrian deaths are really, really significant. I want to start with Jay Robinson first. Why, in your view, do pedestrian deaths still remain, in spite of Vision Zero, in spite of more profile given the issue, in spite of so many other things, why are they still so stubbornly high?
So it's very unsettling for all of us at City Hall, and that's why we, 2 years ago, decided to launch this Vision Zero Toronto and really customize it to the City of Toronto. So we spent years, really, in looking at international best practices and looking at how we can best apply those to Toronto. Sweden started this initiative. It's a global movement. It's really great that people are embracing it. But the bottom line is we just kicked it off in 2017. That was the official plan, was to be implemented starting 2017. So we're really new at this. At the same time, we've accelerated it 3 times. Not just the budget, but also the tactical measures and the countermeasures that we're really rolling out across Toronto. So this is a very challenging issue. Our city is growing in leaps and bounds, and we need to address this, and swiftly.
So is it your view that the new programs haven't had adequate time in place to have an impact?
Yes, so if you speak to Sweden or other major cities like New York City, they will tell you that it's a long-term exercise, and it takes time. We are reconfiguring our roadways, our corridors, our intersections. A lot of it is actually physical engineering work, and so we have now committed $100 million to this this plan.
Pamela, I want to ask you about demographics here. Last week, there was a 58-year-old woman who was cycling. She was killed by a flatbed truck 10 minutes from Toronto City Hall. What demographic, or can you tell us, can you help us out understand what demographic seems to be the most vulnerable out there to these kinds of incidents?
Looking at the Toronto specific, it's senior population. It's the older population that seem to be at the most risk. And so, as Jay said, we have to look at the infrastructure of our roadways to see what is the cause. Are these pedestrians trying to cross mid-block because the crosswalks or the lights are too far for them to walk? At what time of the day is it? Often we see it in bad weather, and so visibility is bad. So we have to take a data approach, and that's what the City of Toronto is doing. We have a case study actually on our website that looks at both Toronto and Edmonton and their data-based approach to Vision Zero. And I would just echo what Jay said. This is long-term. Sweden saw a significant reduction. They've been at this for over 20 years. So we're
in Edmonton a long time as well,
Edmonton's
right?
about 8 or 9. And they've started to see significant changes. But because Vision Zero is not focused on educating people's behavior, obviously that's part of it. It has to be a part of the equation. Vision Zero's approach is really about changing the design and the roadway physical layout, as well as enforcing the bylaws and the laws and legislation that's put into place. And it's those 2 things together that make the biggest difference.
More on that as we continue our conversation. Marcus, you've written about this, you've thought about this. What's going on here?
Well, you know, I think what's going on in a way is, it was going to say odd to say, but encouraging, because what we have here is a real sense of outrage in Toronto. I mean, for years and years, we've been accepting that pedestrians and cyclists are just going to die on our streets routinely, and it doesn't get much attention. But suddenly, with these recent cluster of deaths, you've had a real kind of strong, almost uprising of of outrage. People are saying this cannot be allowed to continue. And so the mayor has come under very heavy pressure to accelerate his Vision Zero approach. And people are calling for more money to be spent, more change to be made. The letters to the editor in the paper I saw today are just full of people arguing about this. Drivers saying it's all cyclists and pedestrians' fault, and cyclists and pedestrians being outraged about the lack of attention being paid by drivers. So we're at a real moment here, and I think we should seize it.
Now, is that constructive? If everybody's pointing the finger and saying, it's not my kind of road user, it's the other kind of road user who's responsible for this carnage, is that constructive?
No, I mean, it's not at all. I mean, we have this constant argument. Drivers call it, and the Ford brothers famously called it, the war on the car. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is that pedestrians and cyclists don't belong on the streets at all. They're taking over and getting in our way, and that's the reason we're having all these casualties. On the other hand, you have some pretty bad behavior, you have to say, by pedestrians and cyclists too. You know, rogue cyclists who blast through stop signs and so on. So I think what we need is for people to realize we have to share these streets together. We have a problem of human lives being lost, and people are trying to save 30 seconds, say, by dodging through that yellow light if they're driving, or similarly for cyclists. Everybody needs to slow down and think about the other person.
Well, here's what the former chief planner for the City of Toronto asked us all to think about. This is Jennifer Keesmaat, who of course takes to Twitter quite frequently to share her views on things. And she had this to say: tragedy on Toronto's streets again. It's too much to take. It's unbearable. It's time to declare a state of emergency and immediately begin with the basics. First step is to lower speed limits, apropos of what you just said, and enforce them. The game playing, pretending we don't know what to do, must stop. What's your take on that? Well,
I say she should run for mayor. Because we need that kind of attitude at City Hall.
You don't think we have it now?
I think we do have that. We do have it, but that's visionary, her comment, and implementation is challenging. Mm-hmm. So I do think we do, have support for this at City Hall. There's no doubt. But I think if she feels she can do better, I would encourage her to run for mayor. Bottom line is, we have put together an exhaustive plan that's comprehensive, that's now being really touted as one of the best in the world. Other cities are coming to us to say, how did you do this? How are you accelerating this? How are you getting the additional investments? And bottom line is, we're implementing senior safety zones, community safety zones, school safety zones at an unprecedented level. And prior to 2.5 years ago, we didn't have a plan. We weren't working towards this, but implementation is more challenging than you think, because, Steve, when you think about the curb lane, the right-of-way, you think of all the challenges. We need to make sure transit riders and users can still access those points. People with accessibility issues, wheel-trans, garbage services, certainly shopkeepers who need, and corporations that need their shipment. So it's very challenging sharing that curb lane. When you speak about, specifically, I'm speaking about cycle lanes, and implementation is harder than you think. Having said that, we've implemented close to 900 kilometers of cycle tracks, cycle laneways, bike lanes, sharrows in the city.
Was it too much too fast?
I'm not sure it's, well, there's a counter argument to that, certainly in the city, but it is very challenging to do it. When we did I'll give you the example of Adelaide.
Just to remind everybody who lives outside Toronto, Adelaide is a street that runs east. It's one way through the downtown, through the financial core. And when there's not construction and when there's not rush hour, people can whip along it pretty quickly.
Yes, so Adelaide and Richmond, we actually put bike lanes in there. They are piloted. I would like to see them permanent because they're excellent. The use is the top of the city. This is the area everybody's using to get across the city east-west. And bottom line is, the accessibility community had some issues with those bike lanes because they also have to get in and out of their various destinations. And so none of this is easy, but we are rolling it out aggressively.
I wondered about this because every time you put a bike lane in, Pamela, I presume that you are depending that drivers in cars you know, take a look to their right before they make that right-hand turn, lest a cyclist come through. You are requiring people, you're kind of demanding that people, in order to keep things safe, that they kind of relearn how to drive and share the road. How tricky has that been?
I mean, it is tricky, and it depends on how the bike lane is constructed. You know, if it's just paint, it's easier for the vehicle to go over that line. If it's separated bike lanes and protected bike lanes, like we've seen in Montreal and other places, then you have less of those points of conflict, as we call it. But as Marcus said, it does require everyone to pay more attention to what other road users are doing and pay attention to their surroundings. So there is, as I said, there's that component of behavior that has to be core in this as well.
Do we need photo radar in residential areas in order to encourage people to drive more slowly?
Well, we certainly need red light cameras are one thing they're putting in. That'll help a lot. Speed limits have been lowered, but not enough signs have gone up to indicate that. But the idea, I think, that we've gone too fast, too far is just ludicrous. I mean,
for cycling, you mean?
For infrastructure to protect cyclists and pedestrians. We're way behind other cities. New York City, the most traffic-heavy city in North America, perhaps a few years ago, and still put in tons of bike lanes years ago. London has spent hundreds of millions of dollars putting in bike stations, bike superhighways, they call them, and so on. Montreal for years has had separated lanes. So Toronto was way behind. And even when, for instance, the Bloor cycle lane, which was put in just about, I think about a year ago, there was a fight for that for years. You know, pushback, we'll think about it, we'll maybe do it. And again, in North York, when they thought about, on Yonge Street, just north of here, when they thought of redesigning that road to put in bike paths and making it safer for pedestrians and cyclists, there's huge pushback on that too, and that's been kicked down the road. So I think we need to go quicker.
Well, let me follow up on that. I was going to get to this later, but since you raised it here, Jay, I'll go to you on this, because it was your Toronto City Council was asked to consider a plan to narrow Yonge Street from 6 lanes to 4. This is, again, 10 minutes north of here, between Shepherd and Finch Avenues, adding wider sidewalks, adding bike lanes. I don't know how many weeks you guys debated this, but it was a long time, and at the end of the day, I think you basically said, we need to study this some more, and Council, in its wisdom, did not come to a decision. What's the right thing to do there?
Well, the TTC chair, Josh Cole, spoke first on that matter and said he felt that the TTC hadn't been properly consulted with. I wasn't a big fan of deferring it. In fact, I voted against deferring it. But bottom line is, there's 2 schools of thought. One is we're definitely making pedestrian improvements and public realm improvements on that Yonge corridor in the Shepherd area. But there's also ring roads there. And there's a school of thought ring roads, so 2 parallel roads that run either side, west and east of Yonge Street. And so the thought is that one, I think, is Senlac. Am I right? No. I can't remember the names of them, but they literally run parallel.
Beecroft is one of them.
Thank you,
yeah.
Beecroft. Senlac's one street west.
Yeah.
So basically what you would do is either put them there or put them right on Yonge. And so there is 2 schools of thought on that, and that will be determined next term where we go. But the question was, how does it impact the buses that residents are very much depend on in that neck of the woods, but also north of that area, that corridor. So the question was to come back to council with a really comprehensive report on impact on transit users and particularly the buses.
What should they do?
Well, to me, that was just passing the buck. I think really what happened here, I think really was a political decision. I think the mayor in particular was frightened that the suburban lobby of people who depend on their cars, and there are a lot of them up in that part of town, were going to react very negatively to losing a lane of traffic. So I think this is political timidity, and I think that's the last thing we need right now at this moment of kind of crisis when people are losing their lives.
Well, you heard what Jennifer Keesmaat had to say earlier, and whether she runs for mayor or doesn't, I don't know what her political ambitions are, but she certainly wants us to think about this stuff some more. But that tweet of hers got this response here. And let's bring that up here. It says, Keesmaat on her anti-car run again. Human stupidity is the problem, and there is an abundance of it on all sides. Careless drivers, cyclists who blow red lights and stop signs, pedestrians that jaywalk. Each side ignores rules, and trying to pin it all on cars isn't the solution. Pamela, your view on that?
You know, it isn't the solution, but it is part of the solution. So again, it needs to be a comprehensive, multi sort of approach that looks at how do we make the infrastructure such that people have options if they want to bike or walk. They can do that safely. There are still opportunities for cars and buses and delivery vehicles and things like that. But there is a way, and we have seen that in other cities and other countries. If there is a priority put on it, if there is attention put towards it, and if there's resources in terms of financing and human resources. And I think that that is what is needed.
Well, the City of Toronto spent millions on this, and I think they're just ponied up another 17 last week.
That's correct.
17 million.
Yep. And it's good, as for a city of size of Toronto, it needs much more. And it's the first time that I've seen the kind of feedback and positive backlash in terms of an activity that will restrict some people's activities get so much public support. And I think it really is that human face that, you know, groups like Friends and Families for Safe Streets are putting on it. And when you get challenged about, you know, Vision Zero, that's impossible. When we're talking about the deaths and serious injuries only, when you think about how many of your friends and family are okay to be killed or seriously injured, I mean, your answer would be zero.
Right. Jay, I get that politicians have to reflect the views of their constituents, but I think you also have a kind of a public education role to play as well, given that, you know, this is your job. Can a politician take to microphone and simply say something like, all you pedestrians who want to cross the street with your heads down, texting people while you're doing it, being oblivious to all of the traffic that is whizzing by you, you know, if you get hurt under those circumstances, it's your own damn fault. Can you say that?
No. Absolutely not.
Is it true, though?
Councillor Nunziata moved a motion about this exact issue of people head down crossing intersections, and you should have seen the firestorm that resulted from that. You can't. People don't want in this city to see any victim blaming. My position is we have to share the road, but we have to do that in a logical way where it makes sense and roll that out appropriately. So where we've been brilliant, I think, is the engineering piece of this. Where we have not been strong as a city is the education piece. And I moved the motion to become a Vision Zero city at the beginning of this term. But I also moved a motion on education. That hasn't been happening. Thankfully, the media have been playing that role and telling the story and really getting the word out there that pedestrians particularly are in jeopardy in the city because the numbers, as Pamela said earlier, are very high, particularly for seniors.
Well, let me tell you about a story I covered last year. There was a family group on Warden Avenue. They just had dinner in a South Asian restaurant. It was 9:30 at night. A mother, father, 2 young children. Warden is a broad avenue, and there's a...
East of here in Scarborough.
That's right. Yeah. And there's a strip mall on one side and on the other as well. So this family walked into the street, thought they could make it. A car roared up from Ellesmere and struck them, and the mother and daughter were killed. Terrible thing. Now you want to say, of course the parents shouldn't have done that. Of course they shouldn't have tried to cross a big street like that. But the road is very poorly designed. The slope up to it goes straight to the 401. People blast through the light at Ellesmere and they boot it. It's just human nature. It's what they do as drivers. There's no stoplights all the way for a couple blocks further. Now you could say, of course, they should go around back to the stoplight, and cross and go back to their destination. That's fine. But people aren't going to do it. I went there, and the next night after this accident, or a couple of days later, there are people still running across the street right in front of the little memorial of teddy bears and so on. So it's a matter of design. You need to put in that extra crosswalk. You need to narrow that street, perhaps, take a lane out to slow it down, lower the speed limit, put up indicators saying how fast you're going, all these things. You have to account for human nature, and I don't think it's right just to blame people for their own behavior.
Not blame, but at some point, everybody's got to take some responsibility for their own set of circumstances. And I mean, I just asked about pedestrians, so let me ask about drivers. People who drive cars. Do they not have to understand that nowadays they're not the only ones on the roads and that they've got to share the road and be more thoughtful about who else is using them? I mean, that just seems like common sense.
Especially when they're driving a vehicle that, regardless of who is at fault or blame or responsible, you know, a pedestrian or a cyclist is never going to win that.
Right.
That conflict. So I think especially for drivers to be aware that they are actually driving a vehicle that could do serious damage, whereas a pedestrian or a cyclist, not so much. We also find that, you know, a lot of the data doesn't support the fact that there is a lot of collisions based on distracted walking. So again, having the data drive the decision.
Pamela, is it victim blaming to say you can't walk distracted through a busy intersection anymore? You just can't.
You know, it is part of the solution, absolutely. Should they be paying attention? Yes, absolutely. But it isn't the only solution. I don't think you can just tell people what they should be doing and we'll see that, you know, see everything be resolved through just education and behavior change.
Here's Richard Florida, the professor and director of cities at the Martin Prosperity Institute. He's at the University of Toronto's Rotman School of Management, and he wrote the following in something called medium.com. Torontonians like to sound off on Americans' inability to deal with guns and gun deaths. But Toronto's inability to deal with the car creates its own killing fields. That is pretty provocative. What's your reaction to that?
I say run for mayor.
I say run
for mayor. That's my answer. Again, it's easy to make these comments. It's not so easy to implement this plan that is brand new to Toronto. So again, I say this. We didn't have a plan 2.5 years ago. Now we have a plan. It's and we've, you know, rolled it out in an aggressive manner. We've accelerated it not once, not twice, but 3 times, and we've added additional investment 3 times. So we are going as fast as we can. I think there is a little issue inside City Hall with procurement. So the purchasing department does process things very slowly because we now have a dedicated team at City Hall that work just on Vision Zero, and securing those team members has been slow, and securing some of the contract work has been slow. But sometimes that's my colleagues layering on those policies and all those lenses, as they like to call them, that have made that process slow. So the very critics of this are the people who are actually slowing down the process. That's a whole other show.
Yes, it is.
So we won't go down there. But what I will say to you is it's easy to be a critic. It's much more challenging to be the person who's really spearheading this.
I get that. But critics have their role as well. And, you know, the answer... You'll forgive me for saying this, you know, you're allowed to criticize, and that doesn't mean I got to run for mayor before I'm allowed to say anything about this, right? I mean, people are, the former chief planner is allowed to criticize, she's allowed to make her views known, Richard Florida is allowed to make his views known. It's kind of up to you to, as the elected person, to bring it all together and make it work, isn't it?
Well, it is. And like I said earlier, the Globe and Mail has been actually consistently advocating and profiling this issue. And quite frankly, as much as it's, you know, we feel a bit beaten up, we also embrace it because it's actually really shining a spotlight on a big problem. And I'll tell you what Sweden said to me when I met with them multiple times. They said, Jay, if it's not being criticized, it's not working. So expect that. And as did the outgoing general manager of transportation, said good luck, because as he went back to Philadelphia, because he said it's going to be a rough, bumpy road at the beginning, and it has been. But the bottom line is we were down in 2017 after we implemented this, 18%. Deaths went down 18%. Unfortunately, the Toronto Star published numbers that included the 401, which we don't have jurisdiction over the 401. So we've actually went down in 2017, and this year we're a little ahead of where we were last year. But the bottom line is every life in the city counts, and we don't want people's end to be in this fashion.
Marcus, let me ask you this. I think I'm right in saying that Jennifer Keesmaat, the former chief planner, now at the U of T, has forbade, as a parent, has forbade her 2 teenage children from cycling anymore in the city. She says, and she, you know, knows the streets pretty well, having been the chief planner, she says it's too dangerous. What do you think?
Richard Florida said something similar too. He said he's almost stopped cycling, and he lives, I think, in quite close to the center.
Yeah.
So I think that's an overreaction. I mean, I think I cycled to work for years without any incident.
Do you still?
I don't right now, but
why not?
Bad knee.
Oh, okay. So not out of fear that you're going to get knocked down. Okay.
No, but it's for most people it's pretty safe, and in a sense, it's getting safer because there's safety in numbers, and people keep when people are getting used to having cyclists on the roads. But still, the number of people who are getting hurt is shocking. I mean, killing fields is a strong phrase. But our reporter, Oliver Moore, did some work on this, putting together all the numbers. And the number of deaths of pedestrians and cyclists since 2011, the number of people killed is more than you can fit on a Toronto streetcar. Think about that. That's a lot of people. It's more than are killed in homicides. So that's shocking too. So it's a shocking number of people. Around 2,000 pedestrians a year are hit or killed. That's a big number.
Yeah, so come on, people, let's get our acts together. I can tell, Pamela, you want to say something, but I'm out of time, so say it when you come back next time. Excellent. That's Jay Robinson over here. She represents Ward 25, Don Valley West at Toronto City Hall. On the other side of the table, Pamela Fuseli. From Parachute, Marcus G. You can read him in the Globe and Mail. Thanks for this discussion, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Bacon is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.